All right, let's see what he's got. Oh my gosh, dude, the disrespect here is just so... Oh my god, dude. All right, let's get right into it, guys. So we are going to be doing a pure poison build. There is no other effects in this build except for poison. I put a poison build out when I first started my channel probably about 3 months ago, and some of you guys were complaining that it was more of a blood build than a poison build. So I heard you, and that build was also a new game plus build. I was level 290. This build is going to be a level 130 to 150 level build. So your first playthrough or new game +1, this build is perfect for. This build is extraordinarily fun. It hits incredibly hard, and I personally think poison is fun to use. I know it is kind of underrated and it doesn't get a whole lot of love, but once you get things down and once you get the status effects popping, it's just a ton of fun, and the weapon that I'm using is super awesome. So we're gonna get right into it. I'm gonna break down the talismans you're gonna be needing for this build, the armor, the weapon we're using. I'll show you the flask, and then also, per usual, I'll hit you with some summons at the very end. So with that being said, let's jump right into it. We are using the Serpentbone Blade. Now, this weapon is one of my favorite weapons to use. It's a katana. It has a double slash Ash of War, which is really good, and it's going to help cause us to set our poison effects on the enemy a whole lot faster than if we were to use something else. So that's why we're using this particular weapon. It allows the poison status effect to be built up extraordinarily quickly, and then you get to have that effect, and it will proc a few talismans and some of your gear, and you're just going to be doing a crazy good amount of damage. So with a physical damage of 294 plus 280, it's a decent katana. It does a good amount of damage. Its strength scaling is E, and its dex scaling is B. We are going to be using a dex build primarily with this particular build, so this dex at a B scaling is really good for us, and it causes poison buildup at plus 66. Now, the important thing to note about this weapon is it is not just regular poison. It is deadly poison, which is going to tick for more, but last a third of the amount of time on the target, which is why this build can be so lethal when fighting bosses and ordinary NPCs within the game. The attributes required for wielding this weapon are strength at 11 and dexterity at 22, so you can use this weapon really early in the game if you decide to do so, but you will not be able to attain it until you get to Volcano Manor and do the second letter quest turn-in for the Volcano Manor when you hunt down fellow Tarnished. So with that being said, that's the weapon tied up. Let's move on to the armor. Now, we are going to be using 2 different headpieces depending on what you want to focus more on with this build. The first headpiece is going to be the Okina mask. The reason that we are using this mask is that it is going to provide us with 3 dexterity. It's a nice damage boost to your weapon, and if you're lacking a little bit in dexterity and you want a little bit more in this build, this is a perfect mask to use for that. The other helm we're going to be using is the Mushroom Crown. Now, the Mushroom Crown is really important because it's going to give us a huge damage boost when Scarlet Rot or poison is in the vicinity. This helm is going to increase your damage by 10% for 20 seconds after you or an enemy suffer from poison or Scarlet Rot, and we're going to get into that in just a little bit, just so you can help proc this a little bit more to do some more damage over time. And I really enjoy the benefits that both of them give you. So these are going to be the headpieces we're using. The armor we're going to be using is the Nox Swordstress armor. It just looks really awesome, and overall we're going for kind of a Ronin samurai type sleek look with this build. We're also using the Bloodhound Knight gauntlets, and we're using the Bloodhound Knight greaves. I think overall this set looks really great, minus the mushroom head. With the Okina mask, this set looks absolutely phenomenal, but the mushroom crown really makes every single set look a little bit ridiculous. So if you guys have found a good way to match the mushroom crown with any set, let me know in the comments. I would love to know, because I'm having a super hard time matching my sets with this crown. Moving on to our talismans, we're going to be using the Rotten Wing Sword Insignia. Now, this is going to greatly raise your attack power with successive attacks. So the more you hit the enemy, the more your attack power is going to be raised. The Rotten Wing Sword Insignia is going to give us a 6%, 8%, and then 13% attack power boost as you're fighting your enemy. So the more that you're hitting your enemy, the higher that attack boost is going to go, which is absolutely phenomenal. The next talisman we're going to be using is the Kindred of Rot's Exaltation. This is a big talisman for a poison or a rot build, because whenever poisoning or rot is in the vicinity, it's going to increase your attack power. And for 20 seconds, you're going to get a 20% damage increase when poisoning or rot occurs in the vicinity. So stacking this on top of the Mushroom Crown, you're just going to have a window of time where you can do a lot of damage really quickly, and it is a lot of fun. Moving on to our third talisman, we're using the Axe Talisman, so let me explain why we're using this. The Axe Talisman is going to enhance charged attacks. We don't necessarily have any charge attacks right off the bat unless you hold down your R2. When you hold down your R2 with the Serpentbone Blade, this has a unique skill where you double slash with the R2, where you'll do a double slash with your R2, much like the Ash of War, just not nearly as long. So this is a great talisman for us to use because it's going to enhance that double slash, and you're going to hit really, really hard and stagger enemies, and it makes this build really, really fun when you can pull that move off. The X talisman is going to increase your charge attack damage by 10%, so this is definitely a really fun and great talisman to use for us when we want to do a little bit more damage to bosses and NPCs in Elden Ring. Now, our final talisman is a quality of life talisman. This is the Dragon Crest Great Shield talisman. This is going to enormously boost your physical damage negation, which means you're going to take 20% less damage from bosses, NPCs, anything in Elden Ring that does damage. You will take 20% less damage of that. This is a great quality of life talisman. I have it in the majority of my builds. I really, really like using this. You can definitely tell when you don't have this equipped, you're definitely going to get hit a lot harder. But if you did want to switch this out for something, I would suggest the Millicent's Prosthesis. I don't have the Millicent's Prosthesis yet because I've only done one playthrough on this character, but on New Game Plus 1, I do plan on snagging that to make this build really min-maxed out, the best it can possibly be. Now let's look at our Flask of Wondrous physick real quick. We're going to be using the Thorny Crack tier and the Green Spill Crystal tier. Now, the Thorny Crack tier is going to temporarily boost successive attack power. Once again, this is going to reward us for hitting the enemy multiple times in a row. The Thorny Crack tier is going to allow you to get an increase in damage by 9%, 13%, and then finally 20% when all is said and done, and you've hit the enemy more than 3 to 5 times. This is a really, really huge damage boost for us, and it is definitely really advantageous for this build. The Green Spill Crystal tier is going to temporarily raise your max stamina by 15%, so that's a really nice stamina boost as well, and with our Ash of War using a lot of stamina slashing back and forth, this is going to be a nice perk to have. That 15% extra stamina is going to really come in clutch, especially when you need to get off a few more slashes just to kill the boss. And finally, last but not least, let's talk about summons real quick. So our summons are really interesting here. The first summon I want to talk about is the Kindred of Wrought Ashes. Now, typically on its own, the Kindred of Wrought Ashes is not amazing, but what I have noticed and what somebody pointed out to me in a YouTube comment was that the Kindred of Wrought can also proc your Mushroom Crown and your Kindred of Wraught's Exaltation Talisman to give you that increase in attack power faster. So he's really, really nice to have out. He can buff you without you even hitting the enemy, so he's really nice to use for bosses because you do have a chance to get that increase of attack power before you even hit the boss, so that's really, really nice. So moving on to our summon number 2, we're going to be rocking the Mimic tier. The Mimic tier is a ton of fun because it's going to do everything that you do. It has all your talismans, it has everything in your inventory. It is really great, especially if you're trying to stack poison on the enemy or to get status effects to proc the Kindred of Wraught's Exaltation and your Mushroom Crown. You're just going to have somebody else helping you out to do that, and you're going to get those procs faster, do more damage. It's going to be great. And finally, last but not least, this summon is weird. It's never used, and I probably would never use it except for the fact that it puts poison all over the battlefield. This is the Land Squirt Ashes. These guys are super odd, but I'm using them because their poison that they missed all over the battlefield will actually proc the Mushroom Crown and your Kindred of Wraught's Exaltation Talisman. So you can put these out on the battlefield, they will continually spew poison everywhere, and after the 20 seconds is up, you will continue to get another proc over and over again, even if you're not hitting the boss. Definitely a cool summon, extraordinarily niche and situational, but super cool to use. So guys, that's going to be it for the poison build. I hope you guys enjoyed it. I'm going to show my stats on the screen right now so you guys can know exactly what I'm rocking, how I'm allocating my stats, and getting everything just the way that I have it for my character. I hope you guys really do enjoy this build. I had a lot of fun making it and a lot of fun playing through the game with this build. If you guys have anything you would add to this build, leave it down in the comments below. If you have not subbed to the channel, please go ahead and do so now. Hit that bell notification so you can know when I'm making more Elden Ring content. I am going to move into some Tears of the Kingdom content here in just a little bit next month, so keep an eye out for that, guys. And until next time, stay safe, enjoy the game, and I'll see you in the next one.